Welcome to Alaska Beyond. Our guest today is the newest electee to the Baseball Hall of Fame, Mr. Edgar Martinez. Welcome to Alaska Beyond, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, so nice to have you here. What I'd like to do is give our audience aboard our jets the chance to get to know you as a person. Now, we all know your stats and all the great things you've done, and now you're going to the Baseball Hall of Fame. Before we go any further, that's pretty cool, isn't it?
That is amazing. I still can't believe that it happened, and I'm going to be inducted in July.
It's going to be a big celebration for everyone, and then Alaska Airlines has got a celebration for you in August, if I'm correct on that.
Yes, it's going to be obviously in July. I have a lot of family, a lot of friends. They're going to be there, and also will be another celebration in August, so I'm looking forward to that.
So you've got a couple months of hard partying to do.
Yes.
So you better get your rest and get ready for it.
I know.
So you grew up in Puerto Rico. Can you tell us about your life growing up as a youngster in Puerto Rico and your family and everything?
Yes, I grew up with my grandparents. Mom and dad, they divorced when I was a baby. So they were living in New York at that time. They brought me to Puerto Rico with my sister. And basically I stayed in Puerto Rico until I signed as a professional baseball player. So I grew up there. My grandparents, they were hardworking people. Always seems to be working. And it was pretty normal life. Grew up playing baseball since I was about 10. And it was just, to me, it was a great time when I was a kid.
Great climate too, right?
Great climate, and it was ideal for me.
Did you ever get up to New York to visit your parents?
I was about 16 or 17. I went to New York and spent the summer there with my brother and then my sister. So it was great to see them again. And but you know, once the summer was done, I got back to Puerto Rico.
Went back to Puerto Rico. Now, it's my understanding that the thing that really inspired you to play baseball was an event that happened in 1971. Mm-hmm. It was the World Series, and Roberto Clemente was a star in that series, and he inspired you to become a baseball player. Is that true?
Yes, I remember my aunt was watching what I think it was probably a highlight of the game. And she was talking all the time about Roberto Clemente and the World Series. And I remember that she was jumping and screaming in the living room, and I was wondering what's going on. And I started watching the highlights. They repeated the highlights. And after that, I kind of fell in love with the game. Soon after that, I went in the backyard and started hitting rocks and pretending that I was like Roberto Clemente.
And there you were. Now you're going to the Hall of Fame, but you're out there. You started off hitting rocks. That's mm-hmm. amazing. Was there organized baseball for you to play when you were at that young age, like Little League or something like that?
Yeah, I was at about 10 or 11 when I started playing Little Leagues. And there were, you know, other leagues that other kids were playing. But the first one I played was Little League. It was great to be able to have the ability to play there, organized baseball.
What position did you play when you were a youngster?
I started as a shortstop. So I played shortstop. Sometimes they used me as a closer late in the game. But that was the main position that I played as a Little Leaguer.
And were you playing with your cousin Carmelo in that baseball league?
Carmelo was older, so he was playing another league. But soon after, you know, I grew up and I was able to play with him other leagues.
That's pretty cool. Now, when you were in school, were you playing baseball during the school year or just in the summers, or?
You know, before I signed, I was going to school. I was going starting college. I was going to school 6 to 10, and I also got a job.
Is this when you were in college, or is this high school?
This is when I got into college.
Okay.
And you know, I was playing baseball during the weekend, so it was a really busy time for me. But I love it. I was doing what I wanted to do.
What was your favorite subject in college?
You know, I always wanted to be good at math, but I wasn't that good at math. It's really, I had a hard time with algebra, but later in college, I really enjoy accounting, which you have to do with math. But for some reason, I did much better in accounting, and also geometry. I was okay. It was algebra that I couldn't figure out.
You never did figure it out, or did you figure out a way to power through it?
You know, I did my best, but I never could get good grades.
It was a struggle, huh?
Yeah.
Going back to when you were playing baseball as a youngster, who were your favorite coaches? Were there any that stood out as the coaches you really enjoyed the best?
My coach when I was in Little League, remember Jorge Quillan, he was very helpful, and he was a great coach. Obviously, he teaches not only how to play the game, but he teaches about respect. He teaches about, you know, playing the game right and doing the right thing. He was more than a coach.
So he was more of a mentor?
He was more of a mentor. There was another coach when I was playing, like, it was called the Double A, Juvenile Double A, and Jose Antonio Baez was his name. He was another coach that was very, very helpful. He will go out of the way to you know, to help us out. And he coached me, you know, for several years.
So while you're working and playing baseball and going through your college years and everything, did it ever occur to you that you would play in the majors someday?
You know, no. It was like a dream of mine, but at that time, it seemed so far and so difficult goal to reach. You know, as a young player, you might get a scout to take a look at you, and I guess I was a little bit of realistic. Like, I only had like a couple of tryouts. Kids that get the opportunity to sign, they have several tryouts.
Uh-huh.
I only have two, and in my last one, I was lucky enough that the scout that signed me just he saw me as a potential Major League Ball player.
Now, I understand that you had to be talked into going with that scout that signed you.
Yeah.
Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, I was working, I was going to school, and playing in the weekends. I feel like I had, you know, good paycheck for my age in Puerto Rico. I had no car, no responsibilities.
Life's good.
Life is good. And the offer that I got, it was only like $4,000 to sign. So I had to leave pretty much everything that I had so far and then try to make it as a professional ball player. I didn't want to do it. I had a discussion with my cousin Carmelo, and Carmelo signed as a professional ball player a couple years before me. And he was the one that convinced me.
How did that conversation go?
It was back and forth. I was putting excuses why I don't think
I got a
is
job,
gonna.
I've got money.
Everything is good.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think I'm gonna make it. And he's basically he just said, "You got to take a chance. You only have one chance, and it's in front of you." So I kind of thought about it, and I thought he was right. I should take a chance. So I did.
That's a great lesson. You know, an opportunity like that comes up. You're comfortable, but this great opportunity comes.
Yeah.
If you hadn't have done it, do you think you would have regretted it the rest of your life?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm sure.
You
I
sure?
would have.
Looking back now, you would have. Yeah. So you were signed originally by the Mariners. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah.
And you went to Bellingham?
My first year was in Bellingham. I believe it was 1982. Remember going to Bellingham and a kid from Puerto Rico that never been in cold weather. get in Bellingham, and that's the first thing I remember. This is goal to play
This is a
baseball.
goal. What am I doing here?
Yes, yeah. But at the same time, it was exciting to have that, go through that journey.
And then one day you got called to the show.
Yeah.
Got called up to the majors. How'd that feel?
It was amazing. It's kind of hard to describe because as a kid, you have that dream, but it seems so far, so hard to reach. And when you get the call, you still can't believe it. But I remember the whole month in September, it was so much fun. It was almost like a celebration for me, celebrating that I make it to the big
You
leagues.
can't believe it.
And I had the whole month
Yeah.
just to feel like in a cloud, pretty much.
Yeah. And then you got sent back. And that had to be hard. Was it tough to go
Yeah,
back?
the next 2 years after 87, 88 and 99, 89, it was a little bit up and down. I got sent down and I was trying to establish myself. The thing in the big leagues when you're young, the team, they have a job to do. They have to win games and it's a business. And I felt that, as a young player, if you're not making an impact right away, it's not much flexibility. You either make an impact right away or, you just get sent down.
It's just business. It's not personal.
It is. It is business. They just see you're not ready yet. And that's because it's a business, they don't give you a lot of opportunities.
Well, from what I've read, when you got sent back, you just started working harder.
Yes.
Yeah. How did you just keep that mindset to just keep going at it and get working harder and harder and harder? A lot of people would have given up.
Yes, and I think that comes from growing up with my grandparents, I think. My grandfather was relentless. I mean, he works 2 jobs, and that's the way I grew up. He was all those, great qualities that I saw in him. It's just like I thought this is the way it should be done. So I got back and just kept working hard, and I think the key was the attitude. I didn't have bad attitude about it. I just needed to just get better and try to get that other second chance again.
Your grandfather had a big impact on you. What was the best piece of advice that he ever gave you? Can you remember that?
Hard work.
Hard work.
That was one part, and be persistent. If you keep trying and trying and trying and trying, you usually get better. And basically, that was the number one. Stay loyal. That was another one. But the one that kind of jumps at me is work hard.
Hard work.
Yeah.
Stay loyal. You kind of proved that out too by
Yeah.
staying with one team the entire run.
Yep. Yeah.
And you're still involved with the Mariners. So that loyalty really, really paid off for you.
Yes, and again, I think it had to do with growing up with them, with my grandparents. I stayed with one team in Puerto Rico. I stayed with one team here in the States. I stayed with my grandfathers and grandparents. Never left, and that's. I guess it's hard for me to make changes, basically.
Well, that's the Edgar Martinez secret, because you're able to stay there and develop and grow from all of that. So then you became a regular major leaguer, not going back and forth anymore, and you got established, and you still had this reputation for being out there working harder than anyone else.
Yeah, when I got the opportunity, I guess I kept working and got better and better. And I believe it was 89 that our third baseman got hurt, and I got the chance to play. And after that, I finished the season, hitting over 300. I think it's just staying persistent is what helped me. I guess that's my personality. That's the way I am.
It just everything you do, it comes out.
Yeah.
So then you went through several injuries and an eye problem. And I read this story about how you worked on correcting your eye problem.
Yeah, my condition is strabismus. So especially my right eye tend to just wander, and they don't work in sync. Especially if I get tired, and they just, especially the right eye, wanders, and that doesn't, it can impair the vision. How instead of seeing clear or focus, it was really hard for me to focus. And the team had a doctor. His last name is Nicotoni, and he discovered that I have this condition and gave me a set of exercises. And daily, I will do it pretty much every day before, like at 1 o'clock. Then we'll do it before the game, and I will do that every day. Because those exercises, I was able to find consistency, and it really didn't repair my conditions, but it helped my eyes to be working in sync and more consistent than previously.
And help you adjust to
Yes.
what the hand you were dealt. Now, I heard a story that they were throwing baseballs at you, or maybe tennis balls, with words written on them, and you were trying to read the words of the ball as it went by. Is that true?
They used to have numbers.
Oh, numbers, okay.
And the machine will throw the tennis ball about 130 miles an hour. And what I try to do at times, obviously, most of the time the ball spins. It comes, and when it does that, it's really hard to read the number. You are not able to read them. But if the ball comes like in a knuckleball, at times you were able to see the numbers. And that's what I was trying to see, the ones that come out like a knuckleball, and the number was facing the home plate. And by doing it constantly, over and over again, you get to the point where you can see it. Help your focus, and also slow down. The game speed is about 95. These days, it's really hard.
Yeah, it's getting faster.
Yeah, and when you see at 130, it really slows you. Slow.
So now you're
down.
out in the game, it looks like he's throwing you a slow pitch.
Exactly. It really helped a lot.
Sometimes your team would get down. The team would go through a slump, or maybe even you would go through a slump. And how did you encourage your teammates to keep at it and keep their attitude up and try to get better?
My style was more as an example. I wasn't very outspoken. On one-to-one, we will talk a lot. I will talk to players and help them, to trust their skill. I always believe that when we're in the big leagues, we have the skills to be in the big leagues and be good.
You're there for a reason.
We're here for a reason.
Yeah.
The scouts, they see that you have the skills, which is, your speed, hit for average, whatever it is. That's why we're here. Now, the other part is how we're thinking is what makes a difference. And when we fail, it's not that we lost the skill, it's that we lost the confidence. And we can help that side of the game, the mental side of the game, by some players can help it by working harder. Other players by being aware of how they're thinking and changing the way they're thinking.
Mindset, yeah.
The mindset.
Yeah.
And I think that those are the things that I try to help the players with when I will talk to them one-on-one.
So you're in your major league career, and as time goes on, you meet Holly.
Yes.
You want to talk about that?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when I met Holly. I remember I was in a hotel, and I was waiting for a teammate to go to dinner. And one lady approached me and say, "I always see you by yourself. I I know someone that I bet you would like to meet. And I told her, well, I'd like to get the number if possible. So she did say, no, let me talk to her and see what happened. Well, Holly didn't want to give out the phone number. Eventually she agreed, but the first time I talked to Holly, I tried to take her to dinner or to movies, and at the beginning she didn't want to go.
What?
Yeah, she didn't want to go. She was very into her school, studies, and but eventually, finally, she agreed to go. And after that, we kept dating. Then 2 years later, we got married, and we've been married for about 28 years now.
And you have a beautiful family, 3 beautiful children.
Yes, 3 kids. Alex is 24 now. I have 2 girls. One is 17, Tessa, and Jacqueline is 14. And now everything that we do is surround our kids, and it's been a fun part of our life.
What's the best part of being a dad?
I think it's the fun time that you have with the kids, watching how they change their personalities. You can see the different personalities, but over time they become like adults over time. I think that process from when they're kids all the way to when they're getting into being adolescent and adult, that process is it's a great journey, and it's a lot of fun. I love that process.
What's the hardest part about being a dad?
The hardest part is when you see that they struggle with something. If they struggle anything, luckily we've been pretty lucky. It's nothing serious that our kids struggle with. But at times, whether it's a school, a tough, exam or something,
well or something, yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
But I think that's the worst part. It's hard to struggle with something.
I got that. You later did something really interesting. You went to school with your son.
Yeah, we'd always been interested in school and studying. After I retired, I went and took some courses. I went back to school. And then now, seems like every off-season, I find some courses to do, around finance and trading. And my son got very interested in it. And now, once in a while, we go and take courses. So it's been a lot of fun. I think this is a really good stage in our life where we can do things together like that. And now sometimes pretty much every day we're trading, and he's in his apartment in the computer, and we connect the 2 computers and communicate.
And you talk about, well, this stock's going to do well.
Yes.
Or this one's not so well.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And I think this is something that we both liked. So I don't see this stopping anytime soon.
It serves as a really good connection between the 2 of you.
Yes, yeah. Yes, it is.
So after your active playing years, you became a coach, hitting coach for the Mariners.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference between being a player and a coach? What did you find to be different about those two positions or jobs?
I think it's as a player, you put all your energy in trying to do well for the team, and you have control as a player. You only can control yourself. But when you have 27 or let's say 15 hitters, you're always trying to help someone. Always it's someone that needs help.
Yeah. They wouldn't have you there if they didn't.
It's always that someone that is struggling, that really needs help. Sometimes it's with the mechanics, but sometimes it's how they're down themselves. And I think that's the hardest part, is just trying to help a player not be too down in themselves. Is keep them in a positive mindset so they can help themselves on the team.
So you're not only looking at mechanics, you're looking at mental attitude as
A
well.
lot of times is the way they're thinking at the time, and like I said, they have the skill. It's just when you're not doing good, confidence level goes down, and the way you're thinking completely change. And that's, to me, that's a part that I feel that I need to help the players.
And you could come from a place of experience with that.
Yeah.
You say, look, I went through this too,
Yes, yeah.
and this is, I know how you feel. And then you could probably relate better to them, you think?
Yes. Yeah, and I think that's, they see that I played the game for a long time and have success, and they tend to trust that what I said could work for them.
I understand that after a while you got tired of being away from your family so much. I get it, being a dad and having a family. How'd you deal with that through all of those years as a player and as a coach?
Yeah, it's difficult, but you know, this is the career that I chose, and wholly understand that this is a process. As a player, you kind of look ahead, and you have an idea how many years you're going to play, and we're going to pay a price for it. So we kind of talk about it and plan for the next step. It is hard, but what we tried to do was kind of meet during the summer when the kids are out of school. They will go to a city and spend time. We'll spend time together.
So if you're doing like a 3-game series, let's say
Yeah.
in Baltimore or whatever, they'd come out and hang out with you.
Yeah, mostly it was easier for them to come to California. So
Oh,
every
yeah.
time we go to Anaheim or,
Oh yeah.
you know, they will come.
They probably took Alaska Airlines.
Yes.
Of
yes,
course they
yes,
did.
They did.
Yeah. I had to get the plug in. I'm sorry.
That's good. Yeah, as a coach, it was a little more difficult. I did it for about 3 years, but the kids now, they're getting older. I have 2 girls that soon they go into college, and I wasn't seeing them much at all. Like I will
Oh, I get it. Yeah.
come back from work and they were sleeping, get up in the morning, see them for 15 minutes, and then they're back to school.
Yeah.
And I wasn't seeing Holly much either. She was also, she's been working, so it just was harder
It's
as
tough.
a coach.
But you knew there was a limit to it.
Yes, yeah.
And you'd hit the end and then spend the rest of your lives together.
Yeah.
Do any of your 3 children, or did any of your 3 children show any interest in playing sports?
Well, the 2 girls, one likes to run. It's not a sport like anything, but she likes to run. And she do some competitions running. The little one have done karate, but other than that, those are the only sports that they play.
They've been mainly into academics like their dad.
Yes, they've been. Yeah.
Good. So you also own a bank.
Well, I made an investment in the bank.
Okay.
The bank sold 2 years ago.
Okay.
But yeah, we got into the bank. It's a friend of mine that he gave me opportunity in some of these investments, and basically we formed a group and invested years ago.
You were the first Hispanic bank owner in the
Yeah.
history of Washington State, which is quite an accomplishment.
Yes, yeah, and that was Plaza Bank, and I did okay here in the Northwest, and recently we got it sold to a bank in California.
You're also into tequila?
Tequila, yes.
I'm not saying drinking, but you've got a brand.
Yes, we have a brand, the same group We have a brand that it's actually mezcal from Zacatecas, Mexico. And once I tried the mezcal, I knew it was really good quality, and the family that we're working with in Mexico is amazing. So it's been, we've been having fun with that brand. Still, we have a long ways to go, but we're still hanging in there with that brand.
So you just don't sit around being retired. You've got all these different things going, your hand in so many areas. Do you think that keeps you young?
I know it helps, for sure. It does help to occupy my mind and get involved with some of these ideas. Being very lucky to have friends and know people that get these opportunities and give me the opportunity to get involved. And it's a learning process too. When you get opportunity to invest in things like this, it's just a learning process.
So now you've achieved your dream of making it to the Hall of Fame. What's next?
You know, I think having a lot of fun now with the trading with my son. We can, not for business, but we form like a little LLC and corporation so we can have fun, try to make this work. I think for now, I think this is what I'm looking for every day. Just get on the computer and start trading with Alex. It's been a lot of fun. We're just started to do it, but it's been great.
For our audience, maybe we've got a lot of youngsters watching this that, you know, I wanted to be a Major League Baseball player when I was a kid. Didn't quite get there. I wound up in the flying track. But for the youngsters that are looking at maybe becoming a professional baseball player, what advice do you have for them?
I think it's trust that if you like the game of baseball and you have a skill, it is possible to continually get better and better by being persistent and putting a lot of time to it. Improving your skill it is possible. It takes work, but if you don't shy away from work and being persistent can take you a long way.
So that applies to everything besides baseball as well, do you think?
Yeah, don't take failure as a negative. Sometimes failure, if you learn and keep coming, being persistent, you improve.
Well, Edgar, it's been a pleasure having you on the show with us today. It means so much to sit down and talk to you before you get this wonderful award. Thank you so much for joining us, and we wish you nothing but the best, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.